The first of our two heats. A full field, 20 sleds from 12 nations. And Martin Haven and Andrew Blaser, who was on the ice of this track this very morning in the men's race, calling the action. Andrew, this is going to be a massively tough transition for all of you from the relative calm of Park City to this hurry-up, no-huddle offense that's Lake Placid.
We kind of joke about Lake Placid being a washing machine the first couple of times that you go down especially, so you'll see some of these really fast transitions as we watch this forwarding sled here. This is curve 1. You want to get a real gentle push-off. This is a pretty long straightaway going into curve 2. Off of 2, we're going into cliffside here, and then another straightaway. It's common to take a tap right there before Whiteface, which is going to be curve 4. Now we're into the Devil's Highway of 5, 6, crossing over into 7. And then this is going to be a long, low corner here in 8, into 9, not a lot of pressure there. And then you have Shady 2, sorry about that. Coming into the labyrinth here of 11. Now we're into 12. That's an easy corner to get kind of tousled around out of. 13 into Benham's Bend of 14, and the straightaway that is chicane. There's actually 2 corners there of 15 and 16. We're in curve 17 here. It's going to push us over into 18 with the classic Lake Placid sign there. And now we're in 19, which is going to be our finish corner for the skeleton race.
So the start record from Elena Nikitina back in 2017, so that's 5 seasons old already. But the track record, Katie Uhlaender set that in 2020, so November 2020 in the national NAC race, I think then. So Hannah Neise, the World Cup points leader, our Olympic champion. She has 1 victory this season in Whistler, and then she finished in 6th place in Park City. But Mirela Rahneva, 7th in Whistler, and in 1st place in Park City last week, lies 2nd in the standings. So 2 races, 2 very different tracks, 2 different winners. And we may see a 3rd different winner here, as we have in the men's field. Matt Weston claiming victory this morning. And Startis and everything, but it doesn't hurt. But you do need to try and make as few mistakes as possible. I don't know if there is a perfect run. I don't know if anybody has ever had one. I'm not sure we know what it looks like.
I don't think there's such thing as a perfect run, but minimizing those mistakes is obviously going to help with that downtime. It's very easy for those to compound, and you'll have one mistake that can become 2 or 3 or 4. We do talk a lot about it not being perfect. It's okay to make mistakes. Yeah. As long as you can get it back online and continue to accelerate the sled.
And some hits are less punishing than trying to avoid the hits. So 20 sleds, that is the order they will start the first heat. In the second heat, they will go in reverse order of their first heat performance. Race 3 of the BMW IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup in Lake Placid. Martin Haven and Andrew Blaser watching Jane Channell at the top of the track. 2 6th place finishes on this track are her best Lake Placid World Cup appearances. Let's see what she's got us today.
And Jane is a very solid start. Every race, she always throws down on that start time, so be expecting some pretty quick ones there from her. 5:15 is a really good getaway.
Silver medalist in the Women's World Push Championships last weekend.
Coming through, she's going to take this tap here and try and use that to get her over onto 4 early enough that she can get off of 4 into 5 with a smooth transition. Those are really abrupt transitions happening early on in the track.
Last day of training 2 days ago, relatively dry, sunny, hard, fast ice. What did it feel like this morning in comparison?
It felt a little tacky, is what we would say. So the ice felt kind of sticky. Hopefully, as the snow is going, if they've gotten a good spritz on there, we'll see a couple of smoother times going through this, but just having a pretty good run here.
70.7 miles an hour down at the bottom already. Fastest men in the second heat were getting up to 72, so that looks like a pretty decent run. 55.90 compared to a 54.54, so 1.5 seconds off the all-time track record. It's not been the quickest track this week, and it is pretty bumpy because they've had a very mild fall in early winter here, and keeping the ice on the walls is not easy.
The snow is kept out of most of the parts of this track. There is going to be some in this transition that we see from 3 to 4 right here, and usually coming out of curve 14 into the chicane, those parts of the track aren't covered as well. She seems to handle all of this kind of change in the ice that we've seen over the last couple of days pretty well.
Okay, so Jane Channell sets Not yet. Another run to go. And then the early commute. 55.90, that is the mark so far. Next up for Puerto Rico, Kelly Delka. While Jane is in her 59th World Cup race, this is Kelly's 13th. A Christmas baby, so she celebrates her birthday same day as the little baby Jesus, 25th of December.
I expect to see some really solid lines from Kelly here. This is actually her home track. I know she's competing for Puerto Rico, but she did start with the U.S. program. So she has spent a lot of time on this track, and she knows where to position the sled to continue to accelerate as she's sliding.
Gold medalist here in the North America's Cup 2020 racing. Before she got her World Cup spot, just avoids the clip on the wall there.
She caught just enough of it that it wasn't quite there to push her back over onto 4 a little earlier, which is what we're kind of looking for off of that tap.
World Cup best race here, 20th spot. Better speed than Jane Channell, so she's going to close the gap a little.
She gets picked up just a little there on the exit of 12. It looks like she went in possibly a little bit later than she wanted to and didn't get all the way off of curve 11.
Still good speed, 71 miles an hour, head first on sheet ice.
Coming around curve 19 here, she's trying to get the head back down.
Well, she found the 10th on Jane in the second part of the run, so a 56.42.
I always love seeing the helmets that we come up with, and her helmet this year is awesome. Shout out to Kelly for that, along with the suit.
Yeah, the all-seeing eye, and yeah, loads of colour. I'm loving the whole look.
See how relaxed she is here. She does throw that toe off to the side. She's just not quite where she wants to be with that push off of that corner. This is a really good look at the chicane here. You can see kind of the sled bouncing around, and we're trying to stay really relaxed here. You can see how low she's trying to keep her chin down here, getting ready for curve 17.
And the less you fight the sled, the more relaxed you are, the more it damps out all those bouncing and vibrations. Yeah, breathless stuff. Not quite as breathless as Park City, 2,000 meters above sea level, but hard going all the same. Next up, Sheldon of China turned 20 on Wednesday this week. Raced here in the Youth Olympic Series in November 2019 with 2 wins.
We did get a happy birthday in for her, along with Jeff Payne, who's here coaching, and
Marcus Wyatt.
So it was a kind of a fun little day for us all sliding in that OT.
Okay, 5:31 getaway, halfway between our first 2 sliders.
She's got a pretty big skid there coming off of curve 1, which sends her a little late into curve 2. You're going to see that hit way early up that straightaway going into curve 4. Devil's Highway here. These are really fast transitions. Does a really good job through 8, making sure that sled stays kind of low and pushes through that corner, but does miss a little bit on that back end of shady. We want to get a lot of pressure into that sled to push that height all the way through that.
Second best at the moment.
It's a beautiful exit of curve 14 into the chicane. Going to see that play out in the time here.
Yeah, she's going to need it because the speed's not quite as high as Kelly Delka. Will she stay in front? No, drops behind the Puerto Rican athlete. There's Dirk Matchens, the coach of the Chinese squad.
Always smiling.
He's actually got a very dry sense of humour, but he is quite demanding.
See this skid coming off of curve 1 here, how the runners are pointed back at that other wall. Want to make sure that you're coming off of 1. Being quiet early on in the track is always the way to build speed, especially here in Lake Placid. Really high at the exit of 12. It's going to throw her kind of across into that entrance of 13, and again, those little micro skids, that's just cutting ice.
Great view of the chicane. I don't know if it looks quite the same coming into it as it does from that reverse angle, but it's all very clear. Our World Cup points leader is Neise, the Olympic champion. 1 Olympic gold medal, 1 World Cup gold medal, which she earned at the start of the season in Whistler.
Now, I believe this is a pretty new track for Hannah, but I believe Whistler was also, so always one to keep an eye on because you never quite know just how far ahead she's going to be at the end of the run. I think it's pretty safe to bet that she'll be right in that mix.
She learns very fast. She has raced here before in ICC, and so she had been to Whistler as well, just the once.
So you take that tap, she uses that to push her over onto curve 4. Gets a really nice entrance onto 5.
Quite a lot of tap dancing going on early on, lots of footwork to just massage the line.
Climbs across that in Lake Placid logo there. We want to be real parallel with that as we're crossing across. That's really late height off of curve 12. You can see her kind of flop off there.
Still got great speed. These FES sleds are absolutely flying. She's got little control, but very good speed. And she's in the green for the first time from 4 tenths back. She'll be 2 tenths ahead at the line, quarter of a second up.
I think we've seen it with most of the German sleds in the men's race, and now I think we'll see it in the women's race. They do a really good job. There's something that they have figured out that accelerates through the bottom half of the track.
Well, that's the case pretty much everywhere, especially with the German women who don't often possess a good start. The longer the track is, the more speed they build. And maybe it's just the way they teach them.
I always think it's nice to note how different each slider's riding position is, and she sits a little further back. I don't know if that's an aerodynamic advantage or if it's just where she's the most comfortable. You can see here lose a little runner pressure on that left runner at the exit of curve 12.
A lot of elbow work as well, so it's not just you.
It's not just me.
So there is Hallie Clarke, the Olympic champion and the World Cup points leader. She has the lead after the first 4 sleds in our field. Martin Haven and USA's Andrew Blaser watching teammate Kelly Curtis. So what can Kelly do here? 12th World Cup start. She's had medals here at North America's Cup and Intercontinental Cup level.
And Kelly is going to have a pretty competitive start time. She does benefit. She comes in at about 11.6 stone, so altogether her sled is a little lighter to make that race weight.
Reminds me an awful lot of Noelle Piker's pace, actually. Same sort of physique.
I think anytime that you compare an athlete to Noelle Piker's pace in sliding sports, they're going to take that as a massive compliment.
Absolutely. And if you could end up with her kind of success, absolutely so. 4 tenths up on Hallie Clarke.
So Kelly is really good at just letting it go. You see her use her toe a little bit there. She does get a pretty decent push out of Shady. And then she just wants to open this up and let this speed build as she comes into curve 14.
Look, you're a long-range athlete. Does height allow you to balance the sled better?
It's an interesting one. I come in at about 6'4", and it's hard for me with my knees to be on my steering mechanism, so to speak, within the sled, without being off the front. So Kelly comes down in 2nd place. Should be pretty all right with that.
Behind Hallie Clarke. That looks like a pretty decent run. Certainly plenty of room to do stuff with it.
And there were just a couple of almost nerve mistakes that are a little uncharacteristic. She does a really good job letting it go, letting it build speed. You see this, she comes off a little late from some height, and it puts that tap really early in that straightaway. We want to see that push down just a little later, and that's going to reflect in those next 3 curves.
Again, late exit puts you in a skid. She's working hard to correct it.
She comes off a little tap there. It looks a lot worse than it feels. But you do see it kind of turn that front end of the sled away from it. She does work it back into a decent entrance into 17.
I miss you.
More to do for Kelly Curtis in the 2nd heat. You know, the first time I've ever heard a skeleton athlete saying it looks worse than it feels. That's not normally the way. Hallie Clarke leads, Kelly Curtis and Jane Channell. 5 sleds down, 15 to go. First heat of the BMW IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup here. And Hallie Clarke with friends and family cheering at the top of the track for the USA. Teammate Andrew Blaser, disaster at the start for Hallie Clarke.
That's just a tough break. Hallie doesn't have a ton of experience here. She's been pushing really, really well across tour on the first 2 stops. Seeing a pop groove in the first run is always a heartbreak.
Raced here in the Youth Olympic qualifiers, took 2 silver medals behind Sheldon of China. And She finished in 4th place in our push world, so she is one of the faster starters in the field. How much is that going to cost her, though?
You can see her just trying to work it back on the line really high there at the exit of curve 12. It kind of almost flops off and just see her head compress down toward the ice.
And your mind must be real turmoil there.
I had a very similar pop in my second to last run of training, and it does. You go into these fast transitions, you don't feel like you're on line, and then it's just constant work to try and get it back and pointed straight, let alone where you want it to be in the corner.
57.29, disastrous first run for Hallie Clarke.
And this is all an experience year. I mean, a World Cup rookie, and she is already posted incredible results for as inexperienced as she is on the World Cup. You can see it just pop out there.
Just as she gets over the rise, See Matt-Antoine throwing his head in his hands. He knows exactly what... I mean, there can't be a slider who doesn't know what it feels like to pop the groove.
No, it's something, it's almost like a rite of passage. You just want to see it in a training versus in a race. It's really hard to recover that feeling in a race.
I was talking to her dad at lunchtime in the cafeteria here, and he's saying she's already beating herself up because she's not on the podium. Even, she made a silver medal in her first ever World Cup race, and they're going, come on, you've got to learn the tracks first. No, I know it's, when you're 18, it's hard to wait. Well, somebody who's done plenty of waiting is Tina Hermann, 4-time world champion, 13 World Cup wins, including... not this track, but she has medalled on this track. Took a silver medal last time we were here.
And Tina is one of those athletes. She's not necessarily known for her start. She's getting more competitive. There is a cell phone in the track. She just went over a cell phone. But she has incredible lines and incredible awareness of where she is and where she wants to be. She will always be gaining time. I don't think I've seen many races where she is not gaining time the entire run.
And she knows this track well. 7 previous World Cup race starts here.
Gets kind of that snap out of curve 10, which is shady 2. Pushes her over into curve 11 with a great labyrinth.
She's our reigning world champion. Yet to claim that Olympic title, though.
And how she just handled 14 into the chicane is textbook. That is what every slider is looking for, to continue that momentum that you gain off of curve 14.
But look, she was 2600s up over Neise at the second split. It came back to 1800s. Didn't see enormous differences, but she has the lead.
She's looking around going, I don't know why.
The
cell phone.
She's shouting about there was something in the track. Now, if the athlete feels they've been impeded, did she hit it?
No, she goes right over the runners. It splits them.
If the athlete feels they've been impeded, they can ask to retake the run. She would go at the end of the heat. She's okay. She's,
I couldn't tell if it was a piece of foam or if it was a piece of tape. I've never seen a cell phone just sliding down the track.
Yeah, Karen clearly put a bit of a fear of God into her. What on earth is that? And it's in a split second. It's like...
Yeah, what she said.
Yeah. She's a bundle of fun, actually, Tina Hermann. She's staying in our hotel, and...
I was shocked.
Yes, yep.
Yeah.
I think we've seen 2 instances with brooms on live broadcasts. I've never seen the
Jane Channell
phone.
and her broom fan club in Innsbruck. Yeah, there'll be a short track hold while the phone is recovered. And you can see there Anna Fernstaedt waiting to go. And look at the great belly pants, some great artwork on helmets and skeleton. You've got this whole flat surface that you can play with as well.
It's a fun thing for us. It's kind of funny because that portion of the sled is face down, so when you're standing on the line, no one can see it, but it's almost like that last little moment with you and something that's a little bit of your personality. Or a team rep. We have our sponsorships on there. We get to use our helmet a lot for those things.
Good to see lots of friends and family out here at the track. Fantastic facilities growing all the time here at Lake Placid. It's not just the ice track, the new biathlon centre, the range and the finish area for the biathlon course is right in front of the big building just down below. We've got a brand new medal plaza, got the new ice track. Kasia Ravelli on the right-hand side, the president of the jury for the races. Father Ken is down in the finish hut, actually. We're doing the technical scrutiny. There's Mickey Grunberger, former slider and coach, and he's now in charge of skeleton for the IBSF. Quite sure what the actual...
I was thinking, shit, what was this? And I was so lucky because it goes through the runners. Yeah.
Tuffy Latour with the questions. There you go, live interviews.
It's probably the best video ever of her going down over it.
Yeah. And there's Mike Rogels, who called this morning's race. He was very kind to you.
I appreciate that, Mike.
He was very kind to everyone. Actually, he was very good, very good. Nice to be back in the booth with Mike as well. It's been a few years since. So, 5-minute track hold. I was thinking it might be a couple of minutes, but here we go. There's Jeff Payne. And again, Jeff watching the clock. Okay, let's get the timer restarted. So you just saw Anna just kind of walking around and just, okay, clear your mind. Don't let it affect you. It's not a drama. It's not a problem.
It's actually kind of a hard mindset when we would refer to it as being iced, which when it's cold and snowing out here, it really is like being iced right now, but you're ready to go and you're amped and you've got your head in the right space, and then to be called back into the start hut, it always creates just a little bit of a reset moment that you have to do a lot of work for.
Yep. So just showing her the clock as we count down. They've had the 2-minute warning. So then there will be the 30-second start clock. She'll be ready to go as soon as possible. I mean, that's the standard rule in a snow race. The moment it goes bing, off you go as soon as you can. And then if you do pop the spur, hopefully you've got time to stop before you break the start beam, which is sort of, you can see on the wall, there you go, where the blue line is, a little further down. In fact, if you can stop it before that, then you can go back to the block, reset, you've got time.
Which I think we saw with, I believe it was my teammate Austin in the Park City races, that he was able to recover and get started again, which is why most of us will try and go after this green light pretty quick.
Yeah, there you go. So Anna Fernstaedt from the Czech Republic, and Jeff is calling for the clock to be reset because the time has not been correctly applied.
There's a lot of these things that happen kind of behind the scenes that I know a lot of people at home watching may not know, but we're on a set time and sleds can only go within a certain time frame, and there's a certain amount for a hold, and then we have 30 seconds from the time that light turns green to break that 15-meter timing eye. Yeah. So what Jeff is calling for here is that the timing didn't line up with what they had been told, so they're making sure that she is on the correct timing for her to be ready to go. And the other element of that is, if they were told 5 minutes, so were the track workers. And so for safety reasons, you cannot be releasing sleds before they're expected. So all sorts of that. Hannah's going, okay, I'm getting my helmet on anyway. Jacket will be cast aside at the last moment. 40th World Cup start for Anna Fernstaedt, her 27th for the Czech Republic. And best 2016. So you're coming into curve one here. You can kind of hear that just sounds a little loud, whether that's choppiness on the ice or rock. Might just be our camera picking up some extra sounds here. It's a great exit of curve 3. You see a little tap, but it doesn't actually push her aggressively across. It lets her get into curve 4 real smooth. And some of the sleds make a different noise. A Schneider sled, which is a much more firm sled, has that real crackly rattle to it. Second best speed. Now, she was taught by the Germans. She learned her business in Koenigsee. She slid for Germany, medaled for Germany. Third best speed. Good run from Anna Fernstaedt. Being iced on the line, she's putting together a real solid run that's going to put her right in that mix that we're looking for. Here we go. When you're third behind Tina Hermann and Hannah Neise, there you go. And with all of that delay and all of the little interruptions, she did not allow it to phase her. Good first heat for Anna Fernstaedt of the Czech Republic.
Representing Team Canada will have Mirela Rahneva.
Well, once she finally got the chance to get away, nice, good start, nice clean load as well.
She's got a real nice exit there of 14. It's hard to maintain that runner pressure. There's a slight uphill there, and we call it a compression, that almost pops the front of the sled up. She takes a real light tap here, but she keeps it pointed into curve 17 where she wants to go. I love the artwork on her helmet and flowers and yellow.
Diagnosed last year with type 2 diabetes, so she is sliding with an insulin pump strapped to her. Next up, Mirela Rahneva for Canada. 42nd World Cup start for Mimi. 4 World Cup wins under her belt, including 2 weeks ago, the last race in Park City.
And Mimi's results in Whistler, I think, surprised a lot of people. And then she came back on an absolute mission in Park City and slid out of her mind during that race.
Yeah.
She's definitely one to keep an eye on here. I will never count her out again. She's got a lot of experience, and she is a very talented slider. A little early onto curve 5 there, you can see kind of push her flat and away from the corner. She has recovered that really well.
Bronze medalist here in December 2016. And still with a 2/10 lead over Tina Hermann. Oh, big late
A
exit.
little bit of toe work going into that, and then she kind of lost that pressure on the back end of that corner, so that she had a later transition into that, and it wanted to keep climbing where there wasn't any more corner.
Speed's gone. Where's she going to end up? Second, third, she'll be around Anna Fernstaedt, I think. 3200's back, so just ahead of Kelly Curtis. In fact, not just ahead of Kelly Curtis at all, tied for 4th with Kelly Curtis.
I don't think she'll be super happy with that run. She knows those mistakes that she made, but in the second run, I don't think that we'll see those similar mistakes. She's going to clean that up, and she's going to come back with a little bit quicker of a run if the ice holds. Doesn't quite get all the way over to take that tap, and she ends up in what we would say is no man's land, as my coach called it this morning. And it pushes her late off of that curve 4, and you can see her kind of take that tap onto 5, and now her sled is climbing at the end. This is 12. You can see her lose the back end of that, feet all the way up there by the woodwork.
Big skids. And look at the body. She's just readjusting the body position coming down into the chicane.
And having that feeling through all of that, you want to make sure that you're real settled when things get offline like that. She's still having a good time.
She is. So, yeah, good down to Shady 2. Less so below. Brogan Crowley for Great Britain now. 3rd in the push worlds. So expect a good getaway for her here. You just saw teammate Matt Weston poking his head over the barriers. He won the men's race.
5:22 is a really solid start. She's a very quick foot speed, and she is going to use that to her advantage down this track. Great exit there, real gentle tap, and it keeps everything squared up going into curve 4. Little high at the exit of 5, though.
Again, learning this new sled with the new coaching team.
Keeps that a little low through Shady.
Exit is good, speed is dropping away a little bit. It's a bit like we saw with Mimi. Not so much speed lower down. Ooh.
See a little bit of those wall taps. Each one of those we're going to say is about a 1/10 of time, but that will compound as you go. So if those happen earlier in the track, usually you're going to see that a lot later.
Second best start, 7th at the line with 56.03 as her time. So that looked quite similar to what we saw from Marcus Wyatt, her teammate in the men's race. Just incident when you're a little bit offline going into a series of corners like that Devil's Highway or the Labyrinth, it just compounds itself. There's not really any time to settle yourself back in.
I think she comes across here, so she's got some late height, and she just is going to clip that bunk a little on the uptake, and that's going to turn her sled a little flat. You see how low she is, but now it wants to run out long, and those two corners go the same direction, so we're trying to get off of curve 5 a little sooner so that we're pointed into 6 squared up. Again, a little bit of that curve 12 there where she's just a little later into it. And being late into it, that curve turns and drops, and it wants to spit you out really fast.
All right, so Brogan Crowley in 7th place of our first 10 athletes. Tina Hermann, Hannah Neise, Anna Fernstaedt, the top 3. 10 down, 10 to go. Race 3 of the BMW IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup in Lake Placid. Martin Haven and US slider Andrew Blaser watching the German youngster Susanne Kreher making her 5th World Cup start. This is very much her rookie season. The 23-year-old has raced here twice in ICC and won, so what has she got at this level?
Well, again, good start from her. She, I believe, was a 100-meter hurdler prior to starting skeleton. You see that with the heel recovery on her start. Does a lot of work at the exit of 3 there and just a little toe work trying to square herself up into 4, but handles the exit of 4 really well. Part of that German sled program that we were talking about, where we'll continue to find some speed. So she's up 1500ths right now, and we'll see if that continues to build as she goes.
She's losing a little bit of time. Speed's not great either. This will be down into single digits. If she's in the green at all, she's 100th behind. 4th best speed. This might still put her behind her teammates and ahead of Anna Fernstaedt at the line.
She's got beautiful form as you see her sliding through the heart.
That's insane. That's bringing the speed at the end of the run.
So most of our acceleration is going to be done at the exit of curve 14. The rest of the track is either uphill or just like a gentle downhill progression, and she's able to work that back in as she's closing out that run.
World Cup best, 4th place in Park City, just out of the medals. She's now 2nd after her first run.
She stays so calm through the chicane here, and you tend to start to do a little bit of work there, and any of this bouncing is just input in the front of our sled. It's going to either turn something. She does a really good job of making sure that that's happening at the same time and keeps her moving forward.
So 23-year-old Susanne Kreher makes it a German 1-2-3. 11 sleds down, 9 to go. First heat of the women's skeleton race here in Lake Placid. Pretty close margins in the battle for supremacy here in Lake Placid. Next up, Olympic bronze medalist from 2018, Laura Deas, 64th World Cup race, her 8th World Cup weekend here in Lake Placid alone. She's got the knowledge. Will she find the speed to challenge the German domination?
And Laura is so good at recovering from a rough run, a rough corner, anything like that, that she is able to clear her head from that and just continue to slide and slide well.
She too is on the brand new sled this season, so having to relearn everything. And of course 3 years since we last raced here, so everybody is trying to relearn this track.
It's a little early on to 14. You can see that wants to knock her sled a little flat. She does a pretty good job handling that and getting that back for 17. You hear her helmet dragging there. We've got a lot of pressure going on when you go into any of these corners, just even slightly to the left or to the right, putting you a little later in. That pressure comes on you really fast and it's hard to keep your head up.
Well, bronze medalist here 5 seasons ago, 6 seasons ago now. And that's an 8th place run. Leaves her a 10th away from Jane Channell in 7th.
You can see how at the exit of 3 there, her runner came off and then it lost all of that pressure and it turned her into that wall with the back. You want those bunks to be hitting that tap at the same time so that you stay square going into curve 4.
Well, the athletes are saying that this new sled requires much less to make it turn than the Black Rocks they've been used to. And so when you're in that position where it's just breaking loose and your instinct says, I've got to do this much, it tends to be a bit more than you actually needed. And so there's all of that learning curve still coming through. Well, next up is Kimberley Bos, last year's World Cup champion and our Olympic bronze medalist in women's skeleton. What a season she had last year. Last time we were here, it was 2 race weekends for skeleton. She raced in the first race and then tore a calf or a hamstring and basically spent the rest of the season hobbling off the start. 5:29 getaway. That is a pretty decent start as well. 5th fastest.
Pretty solid start for Kim. She does have a background as a physio, and she knows how to train herself and recover from that. You know, an injury early on in the season last year, and she still came back and had a great season.
Yep.
You can see that really abrupt exit of curve 7 where face is kind of bouncing off that compression. Gets really late height and shady, pushes her over onto that right wall.
6th best speed. She has an advantage. She's still in the green, but it will drop back. She's level. She'll be behind. She is by a fraction. Working hard in the chicane.
She's just such a fun slider to watch when you spend time watching her videos and seeing how she positions the sled and how she gets it to continue moving and gaining speed and building momentum. This weather obviously is not helping any of us, and just identifying where some of those stickier spots of the track are. We really do want a clean exit of shady. I doubt we'll see that